Ready.
She's ready. She's ready for a close-up. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Simon of Savage Reads, and I'm joined today by Lauren of Reads and Daydreams because she's had a right old nosy through my bookshelves.
Yeah, I just turned up and started rifling, putting things off the walls.
This is a series of videos that I do with my friends and with booktubers and other people that I love, or random people off the street. In this case, it's someone that I love. Oh. So what I asked them to do is choose 5 books off my shelves, off of them next door, that I have read that they can have either loved, hated, read, not wanted to read, or really wanted to read. I have to really think about that then.
So it's just basically any book that I just want to talk about,
Yeah.
really. Well, I've been quite nice, I think.
Have
There's
you?
a couple. Well, there's a. Don't sound a surprise, Simon. I've got a little blanket like a granny, and I've hidden them under the blanket. Well, there's a couple that I want to be like, why? But most of them, I think I just want to talk about. So I don't think I'm being too mean.
Go on then, what's your first?
My first one is Bluets by Maggie Nelson. And I picked this one because I wanted to read it. And I've read The Argonauts, but I've not read any of her other stuff.
I've only very recently read this one as well. I've not even done a wrap-up as we record this about this one, so
I'm
that's
just
an
so
exclusive.
current.
You are. But it's basically a series of thoughts on the colour blue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because it looks at all of its connotations and all that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm doing a wrap-up now.
I'm sorry, I'm taking away all your words for your actual video.
You're taking away my exclusive. I loved this as much as I love Argonauts, although I think it's very different. And I think what I also loved about it is I've read The Essex Serpent, and it makes sense, some of the bits of The Essex Serpent, because there's a homage to that in this.
Yeah, when she's talking about blue.
The red parts I haven't read, but I think I have put that in the other room as well.
The red parts isn't about red though, is it?
No.
I thought they were two...
I think it's a murder trial, the red
Yeah,
parts. It's about
because
her auntie getting
got
murdered.
Yeah, so it's just a coincidence that there's the red parts and bluets. Is it, or is it not?
I don't know whether she's done it on purpose, but
Maybe
I think
they've
they've made.
released
I think
them on
releasing them
purpose.
as that thing is
Yeah.
vintage are very savvy.
Very
But what I would say about this is you need to be in the right mood for it.
Yeah.
And it's not one that you can go, oh well, I'll just sit down with that for 7 hours and I'll devour it in one go. You actually need to go away and think about it, because she numbers it all the different points. And whilst I didn't take over 200 breaks between reading each bit, I did read it in bits and go away and think about it. Because what I loved about The Argonauts is I felt like she'd taken the top of my head off, poured loads of ideas in, shoved the back, and then shook it and gone, go and have a think about that. Yeah.
It is
And I
quite
think the same.
academic though, The Argonauts.
I didn't find it that.
Really, I found it quite difficult.
I only call it academic.
Academic. I didn't find it difficult, but I found it like, oh, I need to think about this. It's not like an easy read. Some of the concepts she comes up with are quite...
You will need to think about this one.
And I imagine it's... Okay, so...
So I think it's in the same vein. If you like The Argonauts, I think you'll like this very much.
Thanks. Book 2 is another one that I want to read, but I just picked this one because I liked the look of it. Oh,
I love these.
Did you? Okay. So this is Kate Atkinson, and the one I picked from your shelf is Started Early, Took My Dog, because I thought that was a really fun title, and I heard that one before. But I've not read any Kate Atkinson.
None at all?
None. So I've only picked one book, but the reason I picked it was to be like, what's she like? Which book should I start with? What would you recommend by her? Because you've got lots of them on your shelf.
I have got lots of them.
So I didn't want to bring all of them.
The only one that I haven't read of hers, I think... Oh, I started Emotionally Weird recently and gave it up, which is not a great sign.
Oh, yeah.
But I do love her.
I've got one, and I think it's Life After Life, or it might be God in
I'm
Ruins.
disgusted by how dusty that book is.
Oh, I know, look at this.
Oh, judge me.
Can't get a star, Frantic.
Oh, look at that. And this is the 3rd or 4th in her crime series.
Oh, okay.
So, but her crime series are not like other crime novels, because they're not really thrillers, they're more about the incidents around people involved in crimes or police moments. So I can't remember, I think this might be the one.
So is it a bit more psychological? Not for the reader.
It's more of a character study and also a social commentary on what people like. But, so all of her books are totally different. Life After Life is obviously the really famous one where somebody's born again and again and again. And then you've got one, not One Good Turn, what's the other one called? That was God in Ruins, which is like the prequel / run-along-quel.
I think I've got that one and not Life After Life. Might have to check when I get home.
Life After Life I love. What I love about her is her writing. I really like books that sort of celebrate the ordinary being extraordinary, and she's really good at that. Her eye for detail and stuff is brilliant. It's a bit like, if you like how Linda Grant looks at characters, I know you don't necessarily love how Linda Grant does plots. She's much better at plot.
Don't like how she does plot.
Don't like how she plot. But if you like her characters and the way her observations, I think Kate Atkinson is very similar, or Linda Grant's very similar to Kate Atkinson. What I love about this series is every single one of the books has its own character. I know it sounds really odd, but like the first one in this series, Case Histories, is quite a dark, broody one. And then One Good Turn is like a comic crime novel in Edinburgh at the festival. It's very, very bizarre.
So it's not like if you've read one, you've read them all. It's not the same thing.
No, but she does get much darker with these ones.
Okay.
But I would also really, really recommend, my favourite one of hers is Human Croquet, which I think is more speculative than Life After Life, because it's about someone who's gone missing in a wood, and then there's kind of sort of fairy tale elements and mythological elements all interweaved into it, and it's just a really, really clever book.
Fun.
But I've never read Behind the Scenes at the Museum, which is her debut and won loads of prizes and kind of was her big...
Okay.
I started it and my brain gave the ending away.
So you're like, well, what's the point?
Yeah, thanks, Gran.
So what would you recommend I start with?
Case histories.
Case histories.
Yeah,
okay,
it's a crime. Or I would say Human Croquet. Or maybe Life After Life, because it is
the one.
Yeah.
Next book I have for you is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, and I really am interested to understand what you thought of this.
So I liked it. I didn't love it.
Okay.
And I read it as the hype was all happening, and I think I read it at the right time because I've interestingly not wanted to go and read any more.
So, yeah. Shall I give you my...
Go on.
So I really, really, really love Elena Ferrante's writing. First one I read was Days of Abandonment, which I really liked. I liked The Lost Culture.
I want to read, I've got her really short little ones.
Yeah, I like those.
That aren't anything to do with this.
No, the ones that are completely separate. And I love Days of Abandonment, but maybe because I was just so surprised by it and I really, really enjoyed it. And then one of her other ones, I can't remember what it's called, but I didn't think it was okay. So I've been reading all of those, and then I read this and I was just a bit like, oh, okay.
Do you think though it's because it's been so hyped?
Yeah. But I don't think this is her best one.
Oh, controversial.
But I read it and I kind of wanted to continue with the series because I love her writing in general, and I've liked her anyway. So I haven't really felt the need to pick up the second one.
The bits I did like about it, I liked like all the sort of on the edge stuff. So I like that like, there's a murder that kind of is almost ignored.
I really can't even remember.
There is like this murder that's happened sort of like off in a side street, and I found all of that stuff really interesting, and the way she draws the city and Naples and the community. But the heart of the book is this friendship, and sometimes I couldn't quite work out how I felt about that friendship.
Well, I think that's the point of it. I think people who've read the whole series are like, that's the thing, is that you can't work it out, and you don't know whether Lena is very reliable as a narrator or not. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think
it's like any series.
A lot of people I know that loved it read the first one and the second one, and they just got really into it. But because I just read the first one, I was like, oh, I don't feel the need to continue.
I've got the second one.
Yeah, I've got it as well.
I just haven't got an urge to run and read it.
Okay.
But I wonder if it's because I'm bored of hearing about them.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't even know why you brought it on this channel.
Sorry. Well, but I would recommend trying some of her shorter ones.
I bought all the little short ones because I just thought they've got really quirky covers as well, which I really
like the covers. I really like the covers. I don't like these.
This is a minging cover.
I know, but the ones with like, the one with the doll and one with like the back of a woman.
Yeah.
I like all of those covers.
Because I was thinking, because Europe Editions normally do quite quirky books.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was going to be quirkier than it really is.
Well, this isn't that quirky.
No, exactly. So that's what I was hoping for.
The rest of her writing is a little bit more like, almost like a psychological thrillers sort of thing. It's like not like without it being about murder or something, but it's like a couple of weird things happening, and that the character is like is normally a woman who is quite unstable, but not in a really obvious way. Just in a bit of a way that she'll just do kind of funny things, and I find them really interesting studies of women and society and stuff like that. I really like them.
Do you care who she is? Because I don't.
No.
I will read them all one day, but they're not stuff that I'm going to rush to. I think I want to go to a quirky ones first.
That's the thing. Maybe because we read a lot as well.
Yeah.
Like I've got a lot of things I want to read.
Do you have a when I retire list?
Maybe if you get into them, then you really like them. But I just I don't have time. If the first book's not brilliant, then I don't want to continue.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I know. My brilliant friend indeed. You want nice or well, I don't know.
Let's go with nasty first.
Let's go with nasty. Right. You love Rose Tremaine, don't you?
There we go.
Explain.
Don't you?
Don't you? Explain to me why, please. I don't like her.
This has one plot point that I was very angry about.
Okay.
There's like a sexual assaulty moment that I didn't think was real, like to the character. It was a winner of the Orange Prize.
I know.
She's one of my grand's favourite writers, and before my gran died, this is going to make her feel like shit. No, but before my gran died, she said one thing that she was annoyed about was that we'd never discussed a Rose Tremaine book.
Aww.
And then she died. And then I started reading Trespass, which is one of the most, it's really short and it's gripping and gritty and dark. And I was like, oh hello, that's like my sort of favourite writing. And it looks at how the outsiders and incomers and all that whole thing in a small town in France, which I really, really enjoyed, and it's got a horrible darkness. This, I think she captures, well, despite the fact of her not being someone who's come to the UK, I think she captures that brilliantly. Because the way she writes about how difficult it is for Lev is like...
That's what I really enjoyed. So when he the journey to the UK, and then when he was first there, and he was like, what do I do now I'm here? And trying to get a job and working really hard, and all of that I really liked. But then it just continued, and I was just a bit like, I tell you what, I have a pet peeve in books where people don't make countries real. And I think maybe that just distracted me, because this is about a guy who comes from presumably, you know, former Poland, former USSR type country, comes to the UK and then is trying to build his life there for his daughter back home, I think, and he meets a woman who's from the same country as him, and they're talking, and they're very much like, oh, you know, back in our country XYZ happens, and no one ever says that. I'm never like, oh, you know, back in our country, Simon.
No, true.
I don't like that it's constructed because you didn't want to make it Poland. Just make it Poland. Or make it Ukraine.
The weak bit for me was when he goes back later on in the book. I found that a little bit weak, but also I didn't like there's a moment where something sexual happens and I didn't feel comfortable about it, but I also didn't believe the character would do it, and that made me quite cross. So this isn't the best example, because this is not my favourite of her books.
Maybe then that's why, because I liked the idea of it, like so when he was immigrating, that is all really good, and then once the plot starts happening,
but then
I was like,
her
I don't like it.
stories I think are amazing.
Okay.
There's one about, I'm going to mention it, there's one about Daphne du Maurier.
Oh my god,
and Mrs.
Simon.
Danvers, and if they had met in real life, it's brilliant. I
tried to make sure that Daphne du Maurier wasn't part of this video. I'm really sorry, all of Simon's viewers, but...
They love it. They love it.
I'm a viewer and I don't love it.
The Gustav Snorter, her latest one, is phenomenal, and that's because it's about...
So I should give her another shot.
Yeah, I think you should. And for me, it's the way she looks at characters, and it's the way that she... It's almost like she's trying to understand something. Sacred Country is incredible. Sacred Country is about a child who's born in the wrong gender. They believe from a very early age in a Yorkshire town where it's just not the thing to be done. And you follow that character's story the whole way through. And that blew me away. And I was like, my gran was reading this? I was a bit like, ooh, that's a bit much.
So maybe I've just had bad... like, if you're saying this isn't the best one, because this one won a prize and everything, I just thought, oh, well, this will be the one. So maybe I should try her again.
I think this won a prize possibly for what it's trying to say. Is that controversial? Sorry.
Rather than the actual book.
And for the writing, because I do think she's a good writer. I think she's really good writer. I think she does characters really well. I think she does plot really well. And I think there was something about this book that went off on a tangent, but what she's really interested in is people on the outside of society. So she writes quite a lot about LGBT community, which I really, really appreciate. And she's quite a champion of that without it being, look at the books that I've written about the LGBT. She's not a Jodie Picoult.
Ooh. That to me sounds like you're talking about a different author. See, then you're like, oh, she talks about LGBT. To me, that's someone else. That's not what I got from either of the books.
Different. But also, what I love about it as well as an author is you never get the same book twice, ever. Even when she does something around the same time. So with the historical ones I've heard, they're all very, very different.
Yeah, it was.
And my mum is one of the biggest critics of any. Like she doesn't care if she likes the author or not. She doesn't care. Like as if she's read other books by them that she's loved. She will rate, and she rates every single one of these. And I trust. I've brought my mum and my gran to back up my defence. My dead gran.
Okay, fine. Oh God, sob story. My dead gran loved it, so therefore we have to like it. All right, cool. Well, I'll have to. That means that maybe there will be a Rose to Remain for me then.
Oh no, this one. Lena loves this book.
I know. So this is Wicked by Gregory Maguire, and I picked this up when I was, I think I was like 15 or 16, and it's when Wicked came out, and I was like, I'm going to read the book, and then I was like, what the hell is this? And started reading the book. It's really weird. So I didn't really.
This book.
Yeah, so I haven't finished it. I read like the first 2 or 3 chapters.
You mean you've not followed their entire university career?
I'm so sorry, but I wanted to ask you about it because I found it just a very strange book and not like Wicked the musical at all.
Well, that's fine. But it isn't. But
well, it is.
This came out first.
Obviously. Yeah.
I'd heard about Wicked,
the main one.
The musical in America, but it hadn't come to the UK at that point. Ironically, I ended up working at the theatre where Wicked was on.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, we've already had this.
And I've seen Wicked.
You told me this yesterday. I'm like, I wasn't listening.
She doesn't care. It's not a cake or a book, she's not bothered.
That is actually true.
But one of the guys that I was working at the theatre with, way before Wicked was even come to that theatre, was like, oh my god, you have to read this book. And it's basically what Gregory Maguire imagines the life of the witches of Oz before Dorothy arrives. Or actually, Dorothy arrives towards
sort of mid-end.
the second third.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting for the Dorothy bit, you've got a little wait. But I loved it, and it's because I was obsessed with The Wizard of Oz as a kid. And you know that I even like the awful film, The Magnificent Oz, or whatever it's called.
The Great and Powerful.
Because I have a real fascination with
ever.
The Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
And I love this cover, by the way.
It's
UK edition
really
is not as good as this. And what he does is, he'd already done it with things like, he's written a different version of Snow White, Cinderella, all those, and then he went to Oz, and then I think there's 5 books in the Oz series.
Okay.
5 books in the Oz trilogy.
I think that's 5.
5 books in the Oz trilogy.
No,
but there's actually 5 books. And I just think it's really interesting how the Tin Man becomes the Tin Man, how the Lion becomes the Lion, because I loved it.
I love it as an idea.
This is the closest thing to fantasy I think I will ever enjoy.
See, I like it as a concept, and I love the idea of going back and how things became how they were, and especially the idea of why would someone just be wicked, like just for the sake of it?
And
like,
she's so misunderstood.
I know. So I like that concept, but the actual book is very, very strange.
It is strange.
And I found it very difficult to get into. I suppose because Oz is a very weird place, to be fair, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah,
it's almost like a book.
Darker.
This is almost like a book to me, like set in Wonderland without Alice there to question what's going on.
Yeah.
It's almost like people are going, oh, blah 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 blah, and you're just like, what?
Well, also you're so used to Oz being through Dorothy's eyes and being this kind of
Exactly.
psychedelic, crazy, quirky place with a lot of
But
threat.
if you're just
and
in the
mild peril.
psychedelic,
Yeah,
without
but when
anyone
you're
to
just
ground
in the
it.
bonkers world, but weirdly, I don't love fantasy at all as a genre. But this, I think, verges on it. I mean, well, there's a cloak on the cover, so practically it is. I read the second one and liked that quite a lot. I think I put the second one in the room, and Gregory drew Elphaba in it for me.
Oh,
That was a little moment.
Greg.
Just
I wonder if I should try reading it.
Just a bit of book up my nose, snorting books
God.
again. Don't read them, snort them. But I also think it's fascinating looking at how, and it is odd because I've seen the musical so many times since. The musical is embedded in this a bit more now, but I do want to head back to it at some point, and I'm not a big rereader, but I would really like to reread it.
I would like to have another go because I was like a child when I read it, and I just kind of got thrown by it. I think I thought it was going to be the musical, and then I started reading it and I was like, oh, this is not the same.
It's quite sexy as well.
We're talking about Wicked?
Yeah.
I don't like that book.
Ah,
Oh well, Jen
that's
just come in and
interesting.
ruin it. Yeah, but I really love it.
Okay.
And Lena loves it.
Lena does love it.
You've not finished it, Jen hates it.
Yeah, so
that's a bit of an interesting
a quadrillo
one.
of opinions
Yeah.
there and different things.
But I would
so-
recommend people give it a whirl if they fancy something different. And also if you think you might want to try something, I do think it's like an early stepping stone into fantasy.
Okay.
But psychedelic and weird.
A little bit more.
But then
crazy.
the original Wizard of Oz's were all really much darker and weirder than...
Yeah, that's true.
Than the movie.
Yeah. Did you watch the little cartoon series?
No.
It used to be. No. And it was like based on the books.
Have you seen the
So
Return
it was like
to
a
Oz one?
little. I don't know.
Where the Queen's got all the different heads that she can chop to. Oh, it's
I
amazing.
don't know
That. So anyway, those are the books. That's Lauren having a nosy
Those
through
what I
my
picked.
shelves.
Yeah.
I'll link Lauren's video.
Which
channel.
video? Channel, yeah.
I'll link your channel
Do
down
the
below.
whole channel, that'd be nice.
The whole
yeah.
channel, just one video.
Just
You can
one
watch
video.
one.
You can just pick your favourite one.
Yeah.
Which will probably
Which
be
will
one with
probably
you.
be with me. I was literally about to say that. It'll be the one that I'm in. No. But thanks, Lauren.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
And go and check her out if you haven't already. She's quite worth it. But yeah, but thanks very much everyone for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I've gone red.
God, I'm embarrassing you. Probably.
No.
Keep touching myself.
Going on about your boobs. Lauren and the
They're a
boobs.
big part of my life. I feel like your head looks. I feel like my head looks small.
Basically, you're about to say, I feel like you've got a giant head,
I
Savage.
feel-
Oh, nearly covered
oh,
Lauren
oh.
up. Isn't it beautiful?
I've read this one, and I've read that Music and Silence. I've read. What?
After this one.
This one.
No, I have read them, Simon.
I've read it enough to know that I didn't like it.
Where is he? Where's his name? I should know this by thingy. What's it called?
You're just
I want to
saying
say
words,
Cormoran
Simon, I don't know.
Strike.
That was interesting. Okay,
Thanks.
the last bit.
That was interesting.
No, it's interesting. It's so mean. So mean. It's been like this all weekend.
Oh, you've loved it.
It's like
You've
pick,
absolutely
pick,
loved
pick.
it. Do you know what? I'm only mean and snarky with people that I really like.
Oh.
And that's what you know, that's a true story.
No, I know. It's because
If I'm
you
really
know
nice
that they
to
know
you-
that they don't mean it as well.
Yeah.
Because it's fine.
If I'm
so you
really
can-
nice to you in real life, I absolutely can't bear you.